Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with The Walking David, and it's crazy because we've been trying to get together for a very, very long time, and it feels surreal that you're here right now. I'm so happy that you're here. Uh, what we wanted to do was talk about The Walking Dead, the ones who live, the Walking Dead universe overall, and just have a clean discussion. So, David, you have the floor.
Well, thanks for having me, dude. Yeah, guys, we've been talking back and forth for I'd say at least a few months trying to figure out a time when we could do this. And little did we know that it would be on The Ones Who Live, but it just kind of worked out this way. So, thanks for having me. Let's get into it, dude.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. So we've seen already 5 episodes, and I think for the most part, the show has at least in some way, shape, or form given us answers to a lot of questions that we wanted to see. But I think you and I think this is where this is going to get a little fun. Like you and I have similar thoughts on the show, but also different things that we liked, different things that we didn't like, and things like that. So I'm interested to hear from you how the show's been working, especially in from where you're sitting and what you do. I'm really interested. Like one of the things I love the most about your videos is you come at everything from your experience, and I think it really shines. So I want to hear kind of a TLDR of how you've been feeling so far about what we've seen in the show.
um, and what's a TLDR? Am I too old?
Too
What's
long didn't read.
Oh,
Like
too long didn't read. Oh,
like a
gotcha.
quick
Okay.
summary.
Okay,
Spent
yeah.
too much time on Reddit. Oh my
No,
god.
you're okay. Yeah, sorry. That made me seem a lot older than I am. But well, like so far, like I've said in my reviews, overall, I feel like this show is still averaging like a B.
Yeah.
But there's just several things within it that I feel that they're kind of lacking, or they're making still kind of like the same bad choices. The best way I could kind of describe it would be like if you knew somebody who was an alcoholic, right? But to get over their alcoholism, they supplemented it with a gambling addiction.
Yeah.
And you go, why couldn't you just stop? And they go, well, I did stop. You go, well, you stopped drinking, but you got a new problem on your hands. It's like, why didn't you address the core problem of addiction, period? You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel. I just kind of go like, you kind of Indiana Jones with a bag of sand, one problem for something of equal weight.
Yeah.
And, you know, but there's a lot of things that they're doing well. I mean, like the acting is great for the most part. There's a few weak spots. You can tell that there's some people that had either really good agents or are blackmailing the producers. Who knows? And then they weasel their way onto the shows. But it's like, but Andrew Lincoln, Denai Guerrera, was it Pollyanna McIntosh, Terry O'Quinn? These they're all good choices, and they're all great actors in their own right. And I was super excited to see Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrera kind of reprise their roles.
Yeah.
Um, but I still feel like although this show has had a lot more like action and kind of feels like story progression and kind of getting a lot into every episode, especially those first 3 episodes in particular, um, there is still a lot of tendency to yada yada things or not focus on things that really deserve more focus and then focusing on the wrong things. Or, you know, we both have had this thought of kind of fear the Walking Dead
Oh yeah.
style and dialogue seeping into it, and even more so, the world beyond at times. Okay, unfortunately, with the Jada stuff, they are very fixated on the world beyond show that everybody should avoid at all cost.
Yeah.
Okay, uh, it's just sorry, I know I'm rambling, uh, but overall, I was excited about the show. I didn't know what to expect. I was keeping my expectations low. It was delivering above my expectations. Honestly, like I said, for the first 3 episodes, these last two kind of brought me back to reality a little bit. And I don't know. I want us to get into it because I don't want it to be just me soliloquying the whole time. But you know, this show has me on the hook again. I'll say that.
Yeah.
They've got me wanting to see what happens. So
Same. I mean, same. That I think that's the best thing for me, and I've been struggling with this show. I'm gonna save a lot of that for my full term review when I eventually do it. But I've been struggling with this show to understand if my feelings are more strong because of recency bias as well as just because we haven't seen Rick and Michonne in general. So I'm kind of looking at a lot of the storytelling with rose tinted glasses. I'm honestly not sure where I stand right now. I think a lot of my honest reactions in the moment are more about my excitement seeing Rick and Michonne back on screen. That I'm over. I've been kind of blind to a couple of the things that really came out strong to me in episode 5. And I think you absolutely just nailed it on the head to the point where I was going to do like a follow-up review and I watched your video and I was like, fuck, like I cannot do another video. Like your video sums up to the T exactly how I feel. And I don't think it came out at all. For me, I feel like it didn't come out at all prior. I find it a little interesting, and I think we should dive into it more, that you weren't, I know you liked it, but you didn't have the same affection for season or episode 4 as a lot of the community did. And I mean, that's why there's different flavors of ice cream. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
right, right.
But I'm more interested, and I loved your review of it, but I'm more interested to hear why that was. I personally feel like because Denai was writing it, the dialogue felt a lot less gimply, which I know you mentioned in your review as well. But I think one of the biggest things for me that I agree with where you're at was the pacing of that episode. They spent so long just in a room talking and going in circles, and I agree with that. But I am interested to hear your perspective on that as well.
Um, I felt like Michonne's dialogue was a lot less gimpily. I feel like she kind of, I mean, every actor is going to have the tendency to try to make themselves shine in
Yeah.
whatever they are doing. Okay. And that's not to say that Denai is like selfish or anything like that. That's normal. I mean, if she's writing, it's because chances are she feels like she has some kind of story that she feels Michonne needs to tell, and she knows best how to convey it. And it's like, that's great. But she probably has a lot more difficult time getting into Andrew Lincoln's headspace in regards to Rick. It doesn't matter if they're friends in real life or if they're good on screen together or they carry the scenes well together. Um, she's not a writer on this show. She wasn't a writer on The Walking Dead. Okay. It's
Yeah.
like, what would lead me to think that she would understand these characters better than people who've been writing them for over a decade? I don't know. But I still feel that Andrew Lincoln's dialogue was still very gimpily at times. I like the part where, and it's a great scene. I've said this in my review. It's a great scene when he's like crying and he's describing trying to move on and trying to
Oh yeah.
cope with the idea of giving up on her and devoting his life to this mission. And he had just gotten to the point where, you know, he didn't dream about her and he didn't dream about Carl, and he was basically kind of putting his life aside. um I thought he was definitely conveying that in his acting, but the dialogue of what he's like, I would love to read the transcript. I would love to read the script of what was actually written, the part where he's just like, I had to learn how to die just to love you all over again. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just, I'm sorry. I mean, that really was, if anybody ever had uttered the phrase The Walking Dead is like a soap opera with zombies,
Facts.
that scene encapsulated it.
Yeah.
That scene cemented it to be true. And listen, guys, just like people who love soap operas, I love my stories, okay? But my novellas, but that's not what I want. These novellas go on for like 30 years because they write like that,
Yeah.
okay? Because it is cyclical writing and characters flip flop back and forth. The lady who was the sweetheart last episode kicks a lady down an elevator shaft in the next episode. And then, it's the Dr. Drake Ramore off of Friends situation where they didn't like him, so the writers tried to kill him off as punishment, and then they put him in a coma, and the characters around him go, the only person who could have saved his life was Dr. Drake Ramore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
is him. So the thing that is killing him is also the only thing that could save him. You know, it's
Yeah.
uh so, and there was a clip. I almost wanted to send you this clip because I downloaded it to maybe use it for a future review of the full season. Is there's a clip where it shows the writing and it shows stuff that Denai marked out on the script, or that Andrew Lincoln marked out
Oh, really?
on the script, or that they said differently. They marked out the stuff that they said differently. So, and here's the thing. It was even more word salad in the script than the actors portrayed it. Okay? The actors made it make more sense, if that gives you any idea. So, it's like, listen, man, I could give a student film to Denai Guerrera and Andrew Lincoln, and they could sell it. They could make it seem very, very believable. Having said that, it's still a student film at its core.
Yeah.
It's a high budget student film, and it's like a student film that costs more than the GDP of Kuwait.
No, literally.
Okay, it's, you know what I mean. It is mind blowing.
It's
Um,
fucking crazy. It's
you know what I mean.
crazy.
It's lunacy, but I think that Denai Denai might have more skill with dialogue and understanding how to deliver things more naturally. A lot of actors do.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of scripts that I have acted in and portrayed, I have had to change the wording in order for it to make a lot more sense and to flow more naturally. You just go, guys, this just isn't how people talk. You're writing it like everybody's standing on stilts and is very, direct. That's not how actual people talk about things. Um, and most people don't say what they actually mean, and it shows in their eyes. They're saying something nice to you, but their eyes look upset, or they want to say something more, or they want to cry, but they're holding tears back. They're not bursting into tears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of antithetical reworking of the script in real time that goes on every single set. Um, I just, I don't know. It didn't blow me away. The story progression really wasn't there. I feel like we had some good scenes, but you could pick any of those scenes where they're having that cyclical discussion, pick one of them, and then get rid of the others. And the point has been made.
I do agree with that. I think one of the problems when I was watching your review, I was questioning one element to that. I feel that the show has had a really bad time with pacing, but not all the time. Like some of the episodes felt very well paced. I think that's partly because it's a 6-episode miniseries. They have to. They don't have time to waste. What would you have liked to have seen in place of some of the stuff we got there? And do you also think that Denai and Andrew Lincoln have on-screen chemistry? Like, they work well together? Because I'm so torn on this, and I can't tell. Like, they're definitely friends in real life, but sometimes I'm like, this feels a little forced to me. But I don't know. I know that was 2 questions in one, but
Yeah, what was the first question? So the first question was,
first question was, what would episode 4 ideally, what would it have done instead of like all the back and forth? Because I agree. I think it went on too long. I liked it a lot. I agree that I think it went on too long. But what would you have liked to have seen in place of that?
take all of the physical romance out.
Yeah,
Take all of that out. I don't need that. That doesn't cement them as a couple to me, because we didn't do that pretty much the entire time that they were a couple in the main show. So this doesn't need to have that. It doesn't add to the story. The Walking Dead has never really been about the sex appeal. I mean, there might be a lot of fanatics who care about that, but
It's
in
like a
terms of
fanfic.
story, yeah, it's a fanfic. But hey, man, go jerk off in your own time. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to help you do it for this 6 episodes. this is supposed to be about telling a story, not edging the audience. So it's I'm serious. It's and it kind of annoys me, and
Me
especially
too.
with the story elements that they added within that. The fact that the building is crumbling and they're having a full on discussion, sex and sleep.
Yeah. And a
I'm like,
yeah. Sorry, I didn't
dude,
mean to cut you off.
no, we've had more eating, sleeping, and sex than we had in the entire main Walking Dead show, and it's been a handful of episodes.
I
And
know.
I'm just like, and here's the thing. I would have taken the sexual element out of it because I think you would still be reeling from the emotional turmoil of Rick just going off at you and him struggling to come over to the good side again. You'd be too all consumed by that to be worried about the physical. And also, you are actively being hunted. You are in danger and you are not 100% sure that you're in the clear yet. Not
Yeah.
all of your enemies aren't dead. You don't know about this dossier thing. Once Rick said that, you should be fucking scared and you should be moving. And you shouldn't make him seem like, God, he's such an idiot for thinking what he thinks. It's like, no. And also, I would have liked to have seen him really try to explain exactly who they are dealing with to
Same.
Michonne,
S-
because it's like, hey man, if you really are gone, you need to know all this information so that you can prepare yourself for when they try to come for us in Alexandria. If you end up going back, if you know the information that I know, you'll know how to better navigate the CRM and how to play your cards right so that you don't get killed immediately.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if some it's sort of like this. You remember the scene in Fight Club when they're all standing on the porch and they're like, just let them stand outside on the porch. And after, if they stand there for 3 days, no complaints, never say a word, they have all their shit together, then they can come into the house.
Yeah.
If Rick explained to her, you know, listen, I'm gonna do it. All right. So it's like for you guys. So you just go,
Hell yeah.
listen, we're going to go back to the CRM. You've got to pack your shit. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to talk to General Beale. You also have to get the echelon briefing. You've got to. You're a leader, Michonne. You just got to do it. Like if he
Yeah.
was explaining point by point, like how we have to go about this for you to survive and thrive, and then for us to escape. I would have liked to have seen that because we kind of get that in episode 5 in a one-off line that was not my best Rick, by the way.
It was good. It was very good.
I can't hear myself with the headphones, so I don't know how loud I'm being. But Jadis even says, you were going to move up, Rick, and then you basically could have escaped. You could have gone up in there, and then you could have escaped. And I go, yeah, why didn't that happen?
Yeah. I
I
completely
go,
agree.
the moment she said that, I go, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
That's what last episode was about. Why not just go back and get this briefing and then get the fuck out of there? Why not have her raise up? She becomes the co-pilot of the helicopter and they fly the fuck away.
Yeah, they could have explained that in episode 3 or even at the very end of episode 2 in a much better way that avoided episode 4 and 5. If Rick had just honestly explained the situation in a digestible way for Michonne to understand, the entire 2 shit episode plot could have been avoided. You could have done something completely different. I thought episode 1 and episode 2 were very, very good. I thought they were phenomenal episodes. Then 3 through 5 were just dicey because you could have told the story so differently. You had 5 years plus to develop this plot. I don't really understand why they did a whole back and forth there. And while I really genuinely did like episode 4, I liked that grounded conversation, that dialogue. Even with that, it's like you didn't have to do any of that. It could have been entirely avoided. And it's funny you mentioned the building and then they're sitting in the crumbling building. It's always coincidental. As soon as they leave the building, then it falls
Yeah.
down. It's like it's
Not
classic
during
Gimple.
that 8 hours. They
No,
got their 8 hours in,
no.
and packed their bags in time and had time to change and
Yeah.
just don't think about it. Just consume product.
Mm-hmm. That's been a big problem of mine. Just in general, as I think, and same with you, it's been a big problem with The Walking Dead overall. There's ways humans talk, there's ways situations truly unfold, and then there's The Walking Dead. And it's like, there's just, like, it just doesn't make sense. But it used to be right. They used to do it right. And it's infuriating because this show, I mean, again, I still think, like you said, it's a B. Like it's that's still good. It works. It's entertaining. It's fun to watch. But it could have been so much better, and it could still be. I mean, we don't know how it's going to wrap up, but it could be so much better if a couple things were just handled differently. But we have Gimple, so it's not going to happen. But that actually leads me into a question: what would be? And you said this in your latest video. You're taking this at face value. 6-episode miniseries. I'm in the same boat. That's what this is. I don't give a fuck if there's a season 2. I don't think there's going to be blah blah blah. How would you ideally want this to wrap up based off of where we're at? Because I don't think for either of us it went in a direction we're that satisfied with. But what would be satisfying for you to wrap up this story?
Assuming that it's the end, assuming this is the one season.
Yeah.
I do want to hear the echelon briefing. I know that just because when you tease it this long, you've fucking better stop blue balling me.
Yeah.
And God, it's such a hard thing to answer now. If you had asked me a few episodes ago, if you had asked me that after episode 2 or 3, I probably could have given you a way more concise answer. The problem is, I'm not trying to avoid the question, but the problem is that they clearly are setting up for a second season. If that's a like a wild goose chase and they're not, then I think that the last 2 episodes should enrage people if this really is just 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And if it's 2 seasons, then all of these episodes should have been we should have had more, and it just doesn't. Having a second season and knowing about it and being able to see that coming down the tracks before the first season is even over kills every single show for me.
Yeah. I agree.
Because listen, man, Game of Thrones, I've mentioned this in one of my reviews. Game of Thrones season 1, nobody knew if this show was going to take off. No, they knew that they had swaths of material to work with, but who knows if it's going to work. The first Game of Thrones pilot didn't even air. They had to reshoot 90% of the pilot, and because it was unwatchable.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, so they really had no clue if it was going to work or not. And you're also giving it to newbie directors with DB Weiss and David Benioff.
Yeah.
And they had to interview for it, and they had to prove to George that they knew the source material and everything. And then the moment they run out of source material, the show kind of goes to shit. Okay. And it's not, everybody knows the divide. I tell people, if you're going to watch Game of Thrones, stop at season 6, and whatever your imagination comes up with will be better than what the show came up with.
Literally.
I mean, it's not, yeah, I've had way better dreams about where it goes. You know what I mean? Like, I have TikToks that end with more satisfaction. So,
Literally.
So for me, knowing that a season 2 is kind of on the horizon sort of takes all of the wind out of whatever sails season 1 had.
Yeah.
Because the first 3 episodes felt like, okay, we really are going to only do a season because we are moving. We're showing this world. We're building it quick. Yeah, we have a few extra characters here and there, but we're keeping it moving. Okay. And then the third episode came around, and I was a little concerned because I'm like, we barely got to see General Beale.
Yeah, he's
We've
not
heard a
in
lot
it.
about General. He's Ontario Quinn is a fantastic, like Emmy nominated and winning actor. So I don't understand why he's only had 2.5 minutes of screen time in this.
Yeah.
But Jadis with that fucking bowl cut is all over the place, and it's just like, and Ontario Quinn is just more captivating, I think, to watch than that character because at least he's new and he just has a presence about him. Um, but instead, we got South African lady. We got
Yeah.
Thorn. And it's just kind of like, why are we spending the time on this? We're spending an entire scene talking about, like, I should thank you because I realized I could not escape. And it's like, could we not just have Beale standing there going, what are you doing, Grimes? You
Yep.
know what I mean? And him just going like, uh, Major General Beale, nothing, sir. Sorry. Like, or, anything else.
I
Okay. Like,
agree.
take all of Thorn's shit out. Take Thorn completely out of it. What changes? Tell me.
Nothing. It's funny you say that. I'm not a fan of. I was not a fan at all of Thorne so far throughout this series. I don't think she brought much to it other than some dramatic moments that were unnecessary. And then they sold us. They sold us. Jesus, now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Beale's actor, Terry O'Quinn. They sold us that he was going to be in the show, and that was kind of a selling point for a lot of people to be like, "Oh, this is a big thing." I wonder if it's from a budgetary constraint part of the reason why they haven't had him in there. I don't know, but it would have been infinitely better if we had more of him. And sure, we're going to see him in episode 6 from the trailers and pictures and things like that. Like, I'm sure we're going to see him, but in the capacity that it is, I agree that this doesn't make sense if it's just going to be one season. I don't want to admit that. I don't like that, but it's what's going to happen. It's a product. It's a show. We're going to get something. I don't know if it's going to be a The Ones Who Live season 2 or they're going to world build with a spinoff. I genuinely have no idea. The only thing I'm, I guess, more glad about than I was with season 11 of The Walking Dead, and I don't know if you feel the same, is at least they're being hush hush with an announcement. I think I'd rather them do that and it be blatantly obvious in the storytelling, even though I don't agree with it. I'd rather them do that than have announced there's going to be another season, because then it's like, okay, all of our characters are pretty much safe, albeit Jadis or whomever. You know what I mean? I'd rather them have done it this way. I don't know if you feel the same though.
Yeah, I don't want to ever know. Guys, the reason shows used to be interesting and captivating and that there wasn't a million YouTube channels talking about possible spoilers is because nobody knew when the next episode was coming out. Nobody knew if it was having a second season or not. Nobody knew if people lived or died. And it was water cooler talk, which is why all of these HBO shows and even early on AMC shows were so much bigger, is because it was week to week television. Okay. It was fascinating to see the show and be on edge for an entire week and just chomping at the bit to fucking see it.
Yeah.
And, and, now they write shows to appeal to the, I feel like, the lowest common denominator of a viewer, where it's like, oh, we're appealing to people who have short-term memory. Okay. And it's like, dude, if we've been watching this show for 12 years, it's like, why would you think that we would have short-term memory? Why would you treat us that way? That
Yeah.
seems so stupid. Because it's like, and I remember they were trying to promote like Daryl Dixon and The Walking Dead Dead City by going like, "Hey, you don't even have to have seen the main show. You can just start now." And I go,
Bullshit.
"Who in the flying fuck would do that? Like,
Literally.
who the fuck would see Daryl Dixon just this? Yeah, I don't know, but and he's just like, and they want to see an American grunting around France. Like, that seems stupid as fuck. The only reason you watch is because you go, I have 12 years of watching this character's growth and where he goes, and now I'm gonna continue doing it. Okay,
Yeah.
your fanfic got divided, and now you can, if you have a fetish for Negan, you can go fetishize just about Negan and Maggie, and if you have a fetish for Daryl, you can watch him fuck it up in France. Okay,
Facts.
um, And if you love Rick and Michonne because you're a more traditional fetishist, you like a normal couple that didn't just kill each other's husbands or whatever or wives, then you can watch Rick and Michonne. And it's like, hey man, what you're doing is you're going to marvel yourself into the fucking ground. You
Yeah.
are, because guess what, folks? This really, if The Walking Dead proper wasn't Avengers Infinity War, then The Ones Who Live should be. And it should end with a snap, and everybody goes, fuck. And that's how it ends. Okay.
Yep.
And there is no end game. There is no, hey, Spider-Man is back. I go, oh, what, he has to fight off a realtor after Thanos evaporated him? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How can anything compete with the whole universe was affected?
Yep.
And it's like, that, it really is, it's fucking crazy to think that you could go like, you know what, we've defeated an entire horde and now our character gets killed by 2 walkers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's it, there's no consistency in the thought. They are relying on you having a short-term memory because they're hoping that you forget that these characters have agency and can defend themselves and are intelligent, which is why they raised up in this platform, even though they're trying to make Rick seem kind of like an idiot, like he can't think his way out of it, even though he was able to think his way up it. He can't think his way out of it.
Yeah.
And I go, are these the same people, or are you just writing whatever comes to mind while you're on the toilet that day? You know?
That's been a big frustration, is the way they've been writing Rick in general. I feel like they've been losing sight of how he is, and I was kind of saving that for my full review, but
Sure.
it's that's definitely one of my biggest pet peeves. But it's funny you mentioned the whole Avengers situation, because I completely agree. I think if this show was handled appropriately and the way it should be for fan service, not that I think everything is fan service, but if in theory, this show should have been that. This should have been what we were sold, which is the finale to their story. And it's been fucking that up. My expectations were that. And as much as I do genuinely enjoy the episodes we've gotten, even episode 5 that I didn't like, as much as I can enjoy it, it's not what I wanted. It's not what we were sold. It should be an Avengers Infinity War sort of situation. It should be. But now they're doing a full Marvelification of the show. And I don't fuck with that at all. I don't like that.
No. And here's the thing, guys, gals, countrymen. The Walking Dead and all TV shows should not be viewed as content. They are stories. They are art. They are meant to be told. They are meant to be portrayed and expressed. And when their time has been served, they are gone. Okay? And then, like the Mona Lisa, we don't have to see more paintings coming out, spin-offs of the Mona Lisa. Just go and look at the Mona Lisa and go, how about that Mona Lisa? Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. You don't need to keep churning out content. That is the, like I said, that's the short term. That is the YouTubeification. That is the throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks method of putting stuff out there. Because then you're just at the behest of what kind of crazy shit you can come up with. Instead of having gravitas, it's a TV movie of the week.
Yeah.
It's a soap opera. It's Amateur Night at the Apollo.
From your perspective in your career, who do you think, not that we should point the finger at people, but who do you think is the most responsible for that? Because like look at Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Those are staples. They don't need any other spinoffs. They're not going to get any. But then AMC, those greedy fucks, they wanted Slippin' Jimmy. And then that show was ass. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's an example of content. Slippin' Jimmy was a cartoon they made about Saul Goodman. Terrible.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. What?
Terrible. Peter Gould was associated with it as an executive producer, but it's clear that that was an example of them trying to churn content because of the name and the IP. But how do you feel about, and who do you think that falls on? Is that a Scott Gimple thing? Is that an AMC at large problem? Where do you think in your career this stems from? Because it should be a story. It should be, but it's not.
I I think the two go hand in hand. I don't think you can have a Scott Gimple without AMC's help.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that just like with these Marvel movies and DC movies, the only time they stop collecting checks off of existing IP is upon diminishing returns. So only if people don't tune in, we don't get record numbers, we don't get advertising anymore, will we stop making it. Uh, and that's the problem, is that they'll just keep shitting it out. But it's just like, dude, I didn't watch She-Hulk.
Me neither.
I had no desire to that. I know people in it. I had somebody just go, yeah, my buddy, he's actually going to be Frogman in She-Hulk in season 2 when they do that. And it's like, She-Hulk canceled after season 1 for being the worst shit ever. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just like, dude, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening. Marvel's experiencing it all the time. Disney is experiencing it. These big conglomerates are starting to really get hit with being creatively bankrupt. Okay? And I'm sorry. If you want people to take an interest in The Walking Dead, then start over completely with brand new character. Have Robert Kirkman come up with something else. Don't do The Walking Dead : something or other as the subhead. Just stop stamping The Walking Dead. Okay, just I get that that's a named property, but guess what? If you did it once, you can do it again.
Yeah.
Okay? Because Robert Kirkman also did Invincible, and those two audiences never shall meet.
No.
But those are two very different things, very successful on completely different platforms. And it's like, it just goes to show that Robert Kirkman knows what the fuck is up. The creative people here are still creative.
Yeah.
And the uncreative want to milk dry whatever the creative people created. And even when they stop, they are going to wring this rock for every fucking drop of water they can get out of it, even if they have to drill into it and smash it into a million pieces and then just suck it out. Okay. And it's just like, I'm telling you, knock it off.
Yeah.
Okay. My YouTube channel is called The Walking David. My TikTok is called The Walking David. Do you guys think that I want this show to suck? Do you think that I wouldn't like to also have money? And do you think that I shouldn't be the new Chris Hardwick?
Yeah.
Okay, because Chris Hardwick sucks balls.
He does.
Okay, he's just awful. He's a Walking Dead sycophant and shill. And even he was like, you know what? Even I'm not coming back for this fucking show. Like, he's just like, yeah, I'm good. I think I'll go host another failed Comedy Central show. But it's yeah, guys, you've got to stop milking it. You only do it if you have a story to tell. If you don't have a story to tell, or you don't know how to adapt a story to screen because it's not yours and you just don't connect with it fully, knock it off. Okay? Look at David Lynch's Dune versus the new Dune. Okay? Look at the difference. One clearly understands the world. The new one, for people paying attention out there. One clearly understands it, and David Lynch is a lunatic. Okay? And it's just like, and those are very reflected in the movies. Go and watch the original Dune. I dare you. I bet you get 10 minutes into it before you turn it off. It's all over the place. It's hard to make sense of it. You're kind of like, this doesn't even really reflect what I read. And it's like, yeah, but this new one does. This new one understands what it is and planned it out very accordingly because the guy understood the property and was going to do his all to make sure that it worked.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, guys, they spent as much on this season as they pretty much did on Dune. All right. So it's on Dune 1 or at Game of Thrones final season for this. And this is what they're walking through the woods with tasteful nudes.
Yep.
They paid millions to have somebody do tasteful nudes.
Yep. Completely. And Scott Gimple in there was like, yeah, we threw in the tasteful nudes. I don't know if you saw like the episode
I
Insider. I was
don't
like, shut
watch
the
him.
fuck up. Like,
I
shut
don't
up.
watch him. Guys, yeah. Scott Gimple retweeted my impressions on Twitter like 2 years ago. And I was like, that's awesome. But just because the creator of this nonsense shared my stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, I love the characters. That's why I do the impressions. That's why my channel name is the way it is. But I refuse to just blindly praise something. Because if you want to see that, there's a million YouTube channels out there that will kiss the ass and spoil the whole show and ruin it for everybody. And I'm like, I'm not about that. I enjoy what I enjoy and I dislike what I dislike. It's the way it is.
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job with that this season and this show specifically. Whereas I kind of feel like I have a lot of the same gripes with the show, but back to kind of where it started, I feel like I've been watching this with rose-tinted glasses and excitement for it. But the more I've sat on every episode, even episode 1, which I genuinely loved, like I loved that episode. But even with that, now I'm looking back at it and I've rewatched and I'm like, maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was. Maybe it's just those rose-tinted glasses. And I don't know.
It's not. What it is maybe for a second you had rose-tinted glasses, but what it is it's not that like I'm souring it for people or you.
Oh, yeah.
It's that just like Game of Thrones season 7 and 8, when you know where the story goes and it goes to shit, it's hard to go back to episode 1 and go, I can't wait to watch this from start to finish because you know it's going to be shit.
Yeah.
And it's like you just go back and you go, you fucked up the beginning. You fucked up so bad.
Yep. It's funny you say that because those episodes in Game of Thrones, they were enjoyable to watch on screen, but they fucking sucked. You know what I mean? Like they were entertaining. It was spectacle.
It was for popcorn munchers and people who didn't want people who really love Game of Thrones. They sit there in silence and they just fixate on the TV. Season 8 was like the average movie theater going experience today, where you go and it's some old bag who is shoving popcorn in her face that she brought from home, and she's just going like, "That Jon Snow, I like it when he Jon Snow is, I really, he should be he's the king of the North. He should be king of the South too, I think." And you're like, what what the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? And I'm just like,
that fucking killed me, dude.
I know. I'm laughing because of your laugh.
I could see those people.
Like it. Yeah, you know the person. There's a million empty seats. They sit right behind you, okay? And they're kicking the back of your chair, and they're farting, and they're loud, and they literally utter things out loud when they're watching the show. They go like, "Oh, don't go in there."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this is not what this show was. Like, people in the beginning of Game of Thrones were like, God, there's so much. It's hard to get all these names, and there's so much history and lore. By the end, people were like, it's Jon, and it's Sansa, and it's Dragon Lady, and she gets mad, and I like it when she gets mad. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. This is not the man I married.
No. Yeah. So I guess that kind of leaves it off. What are you, based off of this conversation, what are you most excited for, if anything at all, for the potential future of The Walking Dead as an IP?
I mean, do I think that they can do more with this IP? Period. Not for a while.
Yeah.
I think you have to have even longer because of this show, because every time you add a spinoff, you have to add another 2 years that you need to wait before you start doing anything Walking Dead related. It's just like anything. When you take, like, once again, like Spider-Man, we've had like 4 Spider-Men in the last 15 years or something like that. And it's just like, that's nuts.
It's crazy.
Because before that, there was like 80 years of no Spider-Man. So it was like, and now you're just like every second, you know what I mean? And it breaks these people, you know what I mean? It like sets their careers back 5, 10 years just because they have to get away from being Spider-Man. Tom Holland was still seen as that.
Oh yeah.
And it's man, you really need to have a story that you need to tell, and it's not just because it's recognizable IP. It's a great story that maybe you put into the Walking Dead universe about an apocalypse or about somebody overcoming some other challenge or becoming a better man or something. Like the first 5 seasons of the show,
Oh
The
yeah.
Walking Dead. Um but when you start to just do things to drag it out to make more money, you lose me. And Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul worked because they didn't overstay their welcome. If The Walking Dead had ended when they got to Alexandria and then you did these spin-offs, nobody would have probably any complaints because they were hungry for it. They were thirsting for it. I want to see if they do more. The audience would dictate. You let the audience dictate. This, you are just shoving it down our throats and hoping that we thank you for it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not the way to do it.
I think they should have put it to rest. I think they should, I should say, put it to rest. At this point, I mean, they're not. Look, to be fair, I think we're being idealistic. They're not going to do that. This is a big IP and a big product. It's not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah.
Idealistically, it should. That is the goal. But for AMC, this is their second coming of Christ. This is what they care the most about. So, ultimately, if anything, at least from my perspective, I think a long break would be good, and then maybe something like a cartoon version. For me, a cartoon version of the show like Invincible, where they adapt the comics with fair and full representation, and at least you don't have to worry as much about budget and things like that. I feel like ideally for me, that would be something special, and it would give the opportunity for really talented voice actors like yourself to be able to hop in and give the fucking IP the proper justice it deserves. Until then, I don't think we should be doing Walking Dead spin-offs anymore. It's not going to happen because we live in corporate America, but that's what I think it should be. I don't know. That's
Yeah, we have to come for them before they come for us. It's just that simple, Jerry. You
Yes.
have to make a cartoon. Everybody out there who's made it this far. We've all done the worst kinds of things just to keep this show alive. But I know that we can come back. We're not too far gone. I know that we all can stop this show from continuing. I don't know.
I love it. I love it, dude.
It's, I was going to ask you. So, in episode 4, what was... I know that you liked it. Was there anything that you would have done differently or would have liked to have seen happen in episode 4? Like, would you like more action to happen? Would you like more progression of the story, or them to get out of the building, or what would you have liked to have seen?
I actually don't care for the action portion. Sometimes I think a good dialogue episode is crucial. My problem with it is exactly where your problem was, where it was very cyclical dialogue. It wasn't getting anywhere until the very end, and it felt elongated. I think if they had put more emphasis on Rick's situation instead of, and as much as I absolutely loved the whole callback to Carl and how he died because of Carl, blah, blah, blah. I like that sort of dialogue, but it didn't really convince me that there's a dire circumstance, and it definitely didn't convince Michonne. Remember, she spent years looking for Rick, too. Like, it's perfectly reasonable to expect her not to have any clue how big the CRM is. But it makes it such a pain in the ass when you have Rick not properly explain how dire of a circumstance it is and how much Alexandria has a gun to their head. If they had just fixed that and put more emphasis on that in the dialogue, I think that could have greatly impacted the episode, and they could have came to a more proper resolution somehow in there. I also think the sex scene was a big thing that they should have gotten rid of, and they probably should have started getting on the road sooner with some sort of emphasis on that more, because it was blatantly obvious, like Michonne said, like we're dead in their eyes. Yes, there's a lot of things that are still outstanding, like Thorne's still around, Jadis is still around, all of that. They can't forget that, but at least get a move on. Try to get out of there and come up with something. They could have done that more in this episode to make it make the story go forward. They didn't do that, and I still loved the episode for what it was. I compared it to The Fly from Breaking Bad. That's a divisive episode. Some people loved it, some people hate it because it was a bottle just between, Jesse and Walt. I think this episode, obviously not the same, but had a sort of similar structure, and I liked that. I just don't like the rest of it. Like if this was in a 16 episode season, fine. I think this would have been a perfect sort of story, but they don't have the time to waste here. So I don't know.
Yeah, and see, that's why you'll hear some people in the comments say that they thought it was a filler episode. Is
Yeah.
because if it wasn't a 16 episode season, it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be. And I don't think that that's unreasonable to say. I didn't say that personally, but I just said it was cyclical.
Yeah.
Because it could have easily not been cyclical like that. I feel like, yes, sometimes when you are trying to make a point, you have to come at it from a bunch of different angles and approaches. The problem was that the dialogue did not feel different. Like her approach felt the same every single time. I'm going to yell at you, guilt trip you because of the kids. I only feel safe with you. Move to the next location. Now he's kind of on her side. Then he goes, I can't go. And she goes, what about your kids? I only feel safe with you. Try to get him on her side. Then he kind of does. Then, we have to go back. Then she gets the thing dropped on her or whatever. Leave. That's not going to happen. Rescue. We can still get back in time. There's just a lot of things like that. Like there's several things in it. And I think that a lot of people, I'm not talking about you, but I'm just saying a lot of people who aren't writers and who can't write and can't come up with stories don't see how anything could be improved. But let me tell you something. Writers and creative people who watch this show and people who have, I would say, more of an imagination that they can kind of run away with, they are not as happy with it because they go, but you could have done this or this or this, and you didn't do that. You just had the same conversation in different locations, stairwell, science lab, whatever. And it's like in episode 4, the moment the helicopter gets destroyed, and that should have been when the building fell.
Yeah.
Like there should have been no discussion. They don't have time for it. And they're just focused on getting out. And we're seeing them work so well together as a team, like flawlessly, like they never left. Like, she's got the steel bar or rebar. He's defending her, saving her life. She's saving his life. Together, they are working their way through that hallway, just like we saw. They're going in the elevator, no kiss, just focus. Okay.
Yeah.
They get there. They look through the cars frantically. They get into, not the Deus Ex Machina car with all the ethanol. It's a hybrid because people would like that. And whatever, even if that part was the same, they get the fuck out of there. And guess what? Have the Jadis shit in that episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why couldn't you have done that? Why couldn't episode 4 have been ended when Jadis got the drop on them? Okay, is coming up on them in their sleep. And it literally ends when Jadis, she opens up the gate and you hear the little shlink.
Yep.
It just cuts to Rick's eye go like that. And then it cuts to credits. No music, just credits. Tell me that wouldn't have tickled your balls, okay?
Oh,
because then that next episode, once again, just like the helicopter jumping out of it in episode 4, you just start right with the fucking action. I mean, you were just hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Okay. But instead, we have to have a villainous discussion about, I wanted to thank you because, I am a voice for the voiceless. And just this whole, it was very strange. And it's like, you could have started there, and then that way the Jada shit could get wrapped up. You could cut out all of in episode 5, cut out them meeting the strangers in the woods, because those people acted like we were back in season 3 or 4 of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I
Like when
hated it.
Rick finds that woman and hands her a sandwich and she brings the sandwich to the head of her husband, it's like, yeah, that's good in season 4 because we haven't seen something like that. It just shows how far gone some people are, and it's only been like a year and she's starving and crazy and then she kills herself, and then Rick, it's reminding Rick of how the real world is. This is like 17 years into the fucking apocalypse, okay? Like I said, those people would have been teenagers and they have no weather appropriate clothes. They have no food. Um, one of them looks like she's 20, so they, I guess, had her as a baby.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been almost better if that character could barely talk because they were raised and they were a child and nobody taught them how to talk. You know what I mean? Or they walked funny because they never learned how to walk. Anything would have been better, but not having them would have been the best option. Um,
Agreed.
and the sense of urgency should be felt like they're running in the woods. And instead of Jadis just magically showing up there and parking her helicopter on a cliff somewhere, why couldn't we have another moment where Rick is looking up and seeing almost a double, a match cut
Yeah.
of him in season 8 with the promo of him looking at the helicopter, and you see it again, and then that there would have been a way more emotions brought up and feeling of fear, because we would have felt like, wow, they're making their way through the woods. They stopped for some reason to get supplies or to help somebody, and now Jadis is flying above them. And
Yeah.
then, you know, uh, just something in there. There's something in there that could have been really, really good. But also, some of the setting, dude, we spent millions of dollars on this, and they end up fighting in like a cardboard house, like a fort. It looks like a fort that a kid
Yeah.
built for summer camp. Like, hey, everybody, gather all the boxes together. We're going to tape them and build a fort out of sheets and cardboard. And they're just like hiding in random place. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't, like, the location doesn't make sense. These characters that you're introducing, you're trying to build them up and then knock them down as red shirts. And
That
then Jadis has a whole speech when she's dying about something in a flashback that's irrelevant because it doesn't relate to the scene. I'm sorry, like, I'm blown away when people just go, "This is my favorite episode of the whole season,"
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm blown away. I get the Michonne thing. Everybody loves Michonne, and I do love, like what you said, I love all the dialogue. I was glad that there was dialogue because there's too many episodes of them not communicating. Having said that, they still didn't really communicate
Yeah.
like true people
They still haven't.
in. Yeah, there's not just like, what if Rick, when Michonne is saying all this stuff, like, what am I supposed to tell your kid? He should just go like, my kids are dead. You know what I mean? Like, he should have like a House of the Dragon moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Oh,
Carl is dead. Judith isn't even mine.
yeah.
What if we got that? And then she just goes, well, what about RJ? Who the fuck is RJ? And
Literally.
then she just goes like, yeah, I mean, and then she says it's your kid, our kid. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and then that can bring him back to reality a little bit. There should have been just some more realness. It didn't feel like a real couple arguing. Like, I've had arguments with my girlfriend that never went that smooth. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Where it's like that, and we're arguing about, she's, she has the hiccups while she's cooking dinner, and I go, stop cooking while you have the hiccups.
Yeah.
That's literally what we argued about last night. I go, will you stop cooking? You have the hiccup. And she just goes, I'm trying to do something nice for him. Go, I'm trying to do something nice for you. Fucking sit down and I'll finish cooking. Okay. I can cook. I'm Italian. And then she's hiccuping super fucking hard. I go, what are you doing? And then she just goes, I'm not trying to do it. And I just go, well, it's very distracting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a real conversation that I had. Okay. You don't hear them talking about that in The Walking Dead, going,
No.
Michonne, will you knock it off? She gets the hiccups from the tasteful nudes,
Tasteful nudes.
the tasty nudes, and then she just, and Rick just goes, God, you really chew loudly. You know what I mean? Like, nothing.
No.
There's no realness at all.
Let me ask you something. Did you? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like you feel the same way about this.
Go
Did you
for it.
think the Father Gabriel, I love Father Gabriel, but did you think his addition into the thing was just a complete fucking waste? Like, it was a waste of time. It was a waste of, at least in my opinion. I don't know about you. I feel like they could have just cut that entire fucking thing. No one needs to redeem Jadis. That's how I feel. And I love seeing Father G, but it didn't make any fucking sense to me. It was just stupid.
See, that's the thing, is that I don't love seeing Father G, because
Okay.
and it's just because, listen, man, I don't go like that. That's like the red letter media thing of like, I saw something I recognized, so I clapped.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I just go, that's the short term thing. In the short term, that feels like something that you wanted, because you go, it's a character I thought was badass, or I wish I could see. But the way in which they used him was completely nonsensical.
Agreed.
And also, it's been years before it said 3 years ago. It's been more than 3. So she spent a few years just gone. Okay? And didn't meet anybody else worth knowing or sleeping with. She only slept with Father Gabriel like on watch. Like, she blew Father Gabriel on watch. He goes like, I'm Episcopalian. Then she sucked his dick. And then and then she's like, gotta go. And then she's gone. You know what I mean? And she didn't find anybody else's dick to suck that entire time. You know, like, Jadis should have been hooking up with like Okafor.
Oh, yeah.
Or something. So Rick likes Okafor, and then he finds out right before he dies, and he just goes, yeah, Rick, so me and Jadis, we gonna, you know, like, or whatever. I can't do Okafor's voice. I love that guy's voice.
Yeah.
You know, I killed Atlanta, or whatever. Like, it's kind of Morgan, but
yeah, it's like semi-Morgan and semi-soldier. Like, I don't know how to
it's
describe it.
Morgan mixed with like a British actor trying to do an American accent.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you know, the name Michonne is kind of a weird name, but if you look around the place that we picked you up in, that's potent information. And he just goes, you made a choice. And I'm just like, what the fuck kind of voice is this? I like it. But same with like Victor Strand. You go, where the fuck did you find this guy?
Yeah.
Just like, Madison, I wanted to talk to you. You know, you might as well have had Victor Strand show up, and it wouldn't have hurt anything. He just shows up in a little boat. That's the last thing I remember, is he's just going away in a boat, and it like, see you later.
Rowing away.
Yeah, he's rowing away. He rowed all the way to King's Landing in a boat, with Gentry.
Daenerys shoots it down.
Yeah, it's just Varys just goes, time to write a note. Rick throws a note in a bottle, and Varys picks it up in season 8 and just goes, yes, Your Grace. Apparently, there's that's what this show should be. Is like, they should do a bad edit where Rick just throws I might do it. Throws the thing, and then Varys unravels it and goes, good. And then when Daenerys, it's like they edit a helicopter around her. So she just goes, Dracarys, and it just cuts to the helicopter shooting the other helicopter and exploding.
I love it.
Honestly, this feels like a very cohesive thought in my head. Like, it feels so well formed already.
It makes sense.
It's now canonized in my head.
You could have Tyrion looking up at the like crazy ruckus that's going on, like in episode 5 of season 8. Like,
it's Rick basically just forgot about the Iron Fleet.
Well, Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet.
Yeah. She kind of forgot. I mean, it was mentioned 5 minutes ago, but that's not her specialty. Isn't remembering things. That's not why she's queen.
We could easily do an entirely separate video all about Game of fucking Thrones, dude. I could go.
I would love that.
Off. Same,
dude.
I could go.
I got so much hate. There was this big channel on YouTube. I can't remember the lady's name, but I did it, and she had like 150,000 subscribers and stuff, and her videos were getting hundreds of thousands of views. And I was like, went on a rant like I just did, but about Gilly, and I got eviscerated. I mean, like, I'm telling, like, people just tore me a new asshole. Like, they hated everything I said. I go, Gilly is the Terra of Game of Thrones. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
was really just going like, you know, Gilly, and I was just
G'day.
shitting all over it. And dude, I'm telling you, people were like, kick him off the fucking show. Like, oh, you should delete this episode because, like, dude, they're coming for you. And I'm like, what? And then
Shut the
after
fuck
season 8,
up.
dude, fucking crickets.
Yeah.
Nobody said a damn thing.
Yep.
Because they made like Gilly, I don't know, Master of Whispers or something. I don't know.
So fucking dumb, dude.
But yeah, Gilly is now the Lady of Winterfell. You're like, what?
The Queen of the North.
Yeah, Gilly of House Whoredom. I don't know, like of Craster's Keep, Lady of Craster's Keep.
All right. My last question for you for the video here is do you think that sorry, that just fucking got me. Do you think that it is a good decision or a bad decision for one of the leads, like Denai or Andrew, to be killed off? How do you feel about that?
I feel good about it, honestly. I think that might be the only way to. This sounds so weird. I sound like I'm in a cult. But I just like the only way to prove your loyalty to your fan base and treat them well is to kill one of them off.
Yeah.
Is to be bold and make a bold decision that is going to upset people and it's going to divide people. But listen, you guys, the show is called The Walking Dead. The stakes have to be there. And honestly, I think it should be Michonne.
Yeah.
And I think she wants it to be, honestly. And that's probably why she wanted to write one of the episodes, is because she also wants to be gone. She wants to start getting in the writer's room so that she can control the narrative of when she checks out. So,
Yeah.
and, I don't know what they're going to do. I usually refrain from speculation. But, I mean, fuck, dude, what am I supposed to do? Just, like, not think about this shit for a year? Or until they make the next season.
Yeah.
I do think you have to kill one of the main characters, if not both.
Same.
Okay. And if you kill both, I mean, if you do it in the right way, if you really tell a fucking story and you put a fucking cap on it. And by the way, if you kill them, I want to see it in its full, glorious, disgusting Noah getting eaten alive in front of Glenn fashion, because I don't want one person going, they're still out there.
Oh my God, I know.
I don't want one person thinking that she just Heathed her way right out of the show.
Yeah,
you know what I
literally.
mean? Like, Heath is coming back, you guys, in season 2.
Yeah.
You-
No, I'm completely with you. And right now, it's funny. I am getting eviscerated for my last video because I said exactly what you just said. I said that exact thing, that for a good story for The Walking Dead, I think sometimes it's appropriate for one of them to die. And I feel like it makes sense for that to happen. And everyone in the comments, literally, like, all my comments are like, no, that's not good storytelling. It's like, okay, yeah, just because I'm saying, like, I want them to die, yeah, whatever. But if they make a believable, good story, I think it's totally fine. I think it's what we need. And I think it's a way that we could kind of get over this whole craziness that we've been over the show. I don't know. I think it's a good thing. But
I do too. And like, listen, you guys, like back when The Walking Dead was at its peak, they did, I forget what it's called, like the Paley Center interviews where it says like 92Y on a blue backdrop. I can't remember. But it's a panel and it's got most of the main Walking Dead cast. I think it has like Andrea and Michonne, Rick, and a few of the other ones,
Yeah.
Chandler Riggs or whatever, Carl. And they were asking, they're like, if The Walking Dead were to end, how would you like it to end? They straight up asked Andrew Lincoln this back when it was in its prime, okay? Not like now when it's clear, it's literally a walker that needs to be put down. They asked in its prime. And one of his theories, he had a couple. One was kind of more joking or cheeky, but one of them was that like Rick dies and we see what it's like to become a walker like through his eyes or something, like it slowly like creeps in or something like that, and then it just zooms out and he's a walker, and then like Carl has to put him down, and then they end up making erecting a Rick Grimes statue in the Alexandria town square in bronze.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was just like, you know what, even the main dude was thinking it's possible to kill the character off and didn't seem scared in the least if they did that. Because I truly believe at this point, it's not about the money. They're trying to kind of do what Kit Harington is doing with Game of Thrones and trying to get a new show to close out the story the way that the actors want it to close.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that they feel like they got their best foot forward. I think the actors also are kind of feeling like what the audience is feeling is, how come I've never been nominated for an Emmy? I think they're also trying to get nominated for Emmys. They're
Yeah.
trying to get some accolades for this show that they've committed their life to. They've won some Saturn awards and some SAG-AFTRA awards and stuff like that, but they want accomplishment. Okay, they want to be viewed by their peers as worthy of the title. Okay, and even to be nominated for an Emmy would be huge. I don't think any of them have even been nominated.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I hope that they make some bold decisions, whatever it is, and stick with it, dude.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad, Sopranos did it. Game of Thrones could have done it. You can do it. It's possible. And let the audience dictate, man. If the audience wants more, if there's something that everybody's clamoring for and you got the story, you really do. It's not just to appeal to audiences for money. There's a story to be told. Do it.
I agree.
And if you don't, let it die. It's okay.
I agree. Stories need to take more balls like they used to. Excuse me. They need to have more balls.
Yeah, everybody is scared shitless of pissing off the fan base, and when the inmates take over the asylum, it's chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no order in that. You just have to be firm and enforce the rules.
Yep. Completely agree. Completely agree, David. And I have to say, this has been an amazing hour. I want to keep doing more of these. I think we should be doing more of these. I love this.
Hopefully people don't completely just shit on this and go like, fuck that guy, I hate him.
No way. That is not happening. No way. I have to say, your content is fucking phenomenal. And for anyone from, who subscribes to my channel, if you haven't seen The Walking David's channel, you have to check him out. Like, you have to. It's a must watch. His takes are the best takes, especially coming from where he's at in his position. It's so worth the watch. You have to check him out. And with that, do you have anything that you want to share as well?
Well, thank you for one. I really do appreciate that, dude. And I just want people to know, like, I really do love The Walking Dead. I think as a whole, it was a big show at a time in my life when it was very important to me and was my favorite show for a long time. And just because it no longer is my favorite show doesn't mean it doesn't hold a place in my heart, and doesn't mean that I, wish ill will towards every Walking Dead fan who disagrees with me. Okay?
Yeah.
I just like to speak candidly, and I'm a passionate guy. Okay? And it comes out a little squirrely sometimes, I'll admit, but my heart's in the right place. Okay. I just want you guys to be entertained. I want Jerry to be entertained. And I like honesty and genuine people. So that's what I try to do.
Well, thank you very much, David. It's been awesome. And we definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, dude. I'm definitely down if you are.
Hell yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this discussion with The Walking David. And David, thank you so much for coming on. This was truly amazing, and I hope to do more of that in the future. If you like this, be sure to give it a like rating and subscribe to my channel as well as David's channel for future Walking Dead content. And with all of that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.